You think the confusion is the worst part, not knowing if she's into you, reading every text twice, replaying that last conversation in your head at 2 in the morning. Asterisk, asterisk, but the worst part is actually this. Deep down you already know the answer, and you've been lying to yourself because the truth feels like it's going to cost you everything. It won't. The lie will. Let me be clear about something right now, because most people will never tell you this. When a woman is genuinely interested in you, you don't wonder, you don't analyze. You don't need a decoder ring for her messages or a support group to interpret whether she laughed at your joke out of politeness or attraction. Interest is obvious, it's consistent, it's effort, and when it's not there, that's obvious too. The problem is you've been trained to ignore the obvious because you're holding on to potential, onto what could be, onto the version of her that exists only in your head, and that version is killing you. Here's what we're doing today. I'm walking you through 7 behaviors that reveal, not suggest, not hint, but reveal that she's not into you. Not because I want you to feel worse, because I want you to stop wasting your time, your energy, and your self-respect on someone who's already made a decision you refuse to see. This isn't about her. This is about you taking your power back. And if that's something you need to hear more often, if you need someone in your corner reminding you what you're worth and how to move accordingly, hit that subscribe button right now. Not for me, for you. Because you're going to forget this feeling in 3 days, and you're going to need it again. Let's start with the first behavior, and it's the most fundamental one. Asterisk, asterisk. She doesn't initiate contact. Asterisk, asterisk. You're always the one texting first. You're always the one suggesting plans. You're the one keeping the conversation alive, resuscitating it every time it flatlines. And here's what you tell yourself. She's just bad at texting. She's busy. She's not good at making the first move. Stop. Listen to what you're doing. You're building an entire defense case for someone who isn't even showing up to court. If she wanted to talk to you, she would. If she wanted to see you, she'd make it happen. Women are not passive creatures when they're interested. They initiate. They follow up. They create opportunities. When they don't, it's not because they forgot how phones work. It's because you're not a priority. And I know what that feels like. It feels like a knife. Because you've invested. You've imagined a future. You've assigned meaning to every smile, every laugh, every moment she gave you attention. But here's the hard truth. Attention is not attraction. Politeness is not interest. And someone being nice to you is not the same as someone wanting you. You've confused the two because you wanted them to be the same. But they're not. So what's the root cause here? Why do you keep texting first, keep reaching out, keep initiating when the pattern is already clear? Because you're afraid that if you stop, it all disappears. And you're right, it will. But here's what you're missing. It was never really there. What you're holding on to is the idea of connection, not the reality of it. The reality is one-sided effort. The reality is you doing all the work while she passively receives. And that's not a relationship, that's a monologue. Here's what it's costing you. Every time you initiate with someone who's not reciprocating, you're training yourself to accept less. You're teaching your nervous system that your value is tied to how much effort you can pour into someone who gives nothing back. You're conditioning yourself to chase, and the more you chase, the less she respects you, and the less you respect yourself. It becomes a cycle. You initiate. She responds with minimal effort. You interpret that minimal effort as a green light. You initiate again. She responds even less. And you're stuck in this loop, wondering why it feels like you're running in place. Because you are. The reframe is this. Asterisk, asterisk, withdrawal of your attention is not punishment. It's reclamation. Asterisk, asterisk. You stop texting first, not to play games, not to manipulate her into chasing you, but because you recognize that your energy has value. You stop because you understand that real connection is mutual. You stop because you respect yourself enough to only invest where you're wanted, not just tolerated. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing, you become interesting again. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you've remembered that you're not a man who begs for space in someone's life. Second behavior. She's inconsistent. Asterisk. Asterisk. One day she's engaged, laughing, texting back quickly, making plans. The next week she's distant, slow to respond, suddenly busy with things that didn't exist before, and you're stuck in this whiplash, trying to figure out what changed. Did you say something wrong? Did she meet someone else? Is she testing you? No, she's just not that interested. Inconsistency is not mystery, it's disinterest with moments of boredom. When she's got nothing else going on, you're entertaining. When something better shows up, you disappear. That's not complicated, that's clarity. But you don't treat it like clarity, you treat it like a puzzle you need to solve. You think if you can just figure out the right thing to say, the right way to be, she'll be consistent. She'll choose you. And that's the trap. You've made her inconsistency about your inadequacy. It's not. It's about her lack of investment. People make time for what they value. They show up for what matters. And if you're getting the leftovers of her attention, it's because that's all she's willing to give. Why does this happen? Because you've tolerated it. You've accepted breadcrumbs and called it a meal. Every time she comes back after going cold, you welcome her with open arms, grateful she remembered you exist. And she learns that she can treat you like an option, because you've never required her to treat you like a priority. You've been so afraid of losing her that you've never set a standard, and without a standard, people will give you the bare minimum. Here's the cost. You become a reactive person. Your mood, your confidence, your sense of worth, all of it hinges on whether she texted you back today. You wake up and check your phone, and if there's nothing, your day starts in a deficit. If there's something, you're riding high until the next gap. You're no longer in control of your emotional state. She is. And that's not attraction, that's dependency. And dependency is the least attractive thing you can offer. The reframe, asterisk, consistency is the price of entry, not the prize. Asterisk. You don't celebrate someone for showing up. You expect it. And when they don't, you don't chase. You don't analyze. You observe, accept, and adjust. You stop giving prime real estate in your mind to someone who can't even show up reliably. And you start building a life so full, so purposeful, that inconsistency from others doesn't even register because you're not waiting around for them to validate you. Third behavior, asterisk. She never makes sacrifices or adjustments for you. Asterisk. You rearrange your schedule. You drive across town. You skip things you wanted to do because she's free and you don't want to miss the chance. But when you ask her to meet halfway, suddenly everything is complicated. She's got work. She's got friends. She's got a thing. She's always got a thing. And you tell yourself she's just overwhelmed. She's got a lot going on. But here's the tell. When someone is truly interested, they create space. They move things around. They prioritize. Because people don't miss what they want. They make it happen. If she's never adjusting for you, never compromising, never showing flexibility, it's because you're not important enough to her to inconvenience herself. And that sentence should wake you up. Because you've been inconveniencing yourself for someone who wouldn't cross the street for you. You've been building your world around someone who hasn't even cleared a corner of theirs for you. That's not mutual. That's martyrdom. Root cause, you think sacrifice equals love. You think if you give enough, bend enough, accommodate enough, she'll see your value. But attraction doesn't work that way. The more you sacrifice without reciprocity, the more she sees you as someone with low standards, someone who doesn't value his own time. And low value is not attractive, it's pitied. And pity is not what you want. The cost. You build resentment. You start keeping score. You remember every time you drove to her, every time you changed plans, every time you showed up and she didn't. And it eats at you. Because deep down you know it's not fair, but you're too afraid to say it. So you smile. You say it's fine. And the resentment grows until one day you explode or you ghost. And she's confused because everything was fine. But it wasn't. You just never told her. And you never told her because you were afraid that if you had standards she'd leave. But here's the truth. She was never really there. Reframe. Asterisk reciprocity is non-negotiable. Asterisk. You don't chase balance. You observe it. And when it's not there, you stop investing. You're not angry. You're not bitter. You're just clear. You recognize that a relationship where one person does all the sacrificing is not a relationship. It's servitude. And you're not here to serve someone who won't serve you back. Fourth behavior. Asterisk. She keeps things vague. Asterisk. You try to lock in plans. You ask her out. And she says maybe, or we'll see, or I'll let you know. And you hold on to that maybe like it's a promise. You wait. You follow up. And when it doesn't happen, she's got a reason, and you accept it, and the cycle repeats. Here's what vague means. She wants to keep you as an option while she sees if something better comes along. She doesn't want to commit, because commitment closes other doors, and she's not ready to close them. Not for you. But you interpret vagueness as possibility. You think if you just wait long enough, be patient enough, understanding enough, she'll choose you. And maybe she will. When every other option falls through, when she's bored, when she needs validation, and you'll take it because you've been starving for scraps. But that's not how a man with self-respect operates. A man with self-respect hears maybe and treats it like a no, because maybe is no with politeness. And you don't have time for politeness masquerading as interest. Why do you accept vague? Because you're afraid definitive will be rejection. You'd rather live in the ambiguity, in the hope, than face the clarity that she's not choosing you. But ambiguity is torture. It keeps you in limbo. It keeps you hoping. And hope without evidence is just fantasy. And fantasy is killing your real life. The cost. You stop pursuing anything else. You put other opportunities on hold. You decline invitations, pass on connections, stay in waiting mode, because what if she finally says yes and you're not available? So you wait, and wait, and wait, and life passes you by while you're sitting in the waiting room of someone who's never going to call your name. Reframe. Asterisk, asterisk, vague, is a no, treat it accordingly. Asterisk, asterisk, you don't wait for maybes. You move on definites. And when someone can't give you a clear yes, you take it as a clear no, and redirect your energy. You become unavailable to people who can't make themselves available to you. And that shift, that boundary, is what separates men who get chosen from men who get used. Fifth behavior, asterisk, asterisk, she doesn't invest emotionally, asterisk, asterisk, conversations stay surface level. She doesn't ask about your life, your goals, your struggles. She doesn't open up about hers. There's no depth, no vulnerability, no real connection. It's all jokes, memes, surface-level banter, and you think that's just how she is. She's guarded. She's been hurt. She needs time. No, she's just not invested. Because when a woman is interested, she wants to know you. She asks questions. She shares. She creates intimacy. And when she doesn't, it's because intimacy with you is not something she's seeking. You're having transactional interactions, not relational ones. She's friendly. She's polite. But she's not present, and you feel it, you feel the distance, but you tell yourself it's progress. At least she's talking to you, at least she's responding, but responding is not connecting, and you're starving for connection while accepting conversation. Root cause. You've been so grateful for any attention that you haven't required depth. You've accepted shallow because you were afraid that asking for more would push her away. So you stay shallow, you keep it light, and you hope that one day it'll naturally deepen. But it won't. Because depth requires intention, and she's not intending anything with you. The cost. You lose your ability to connect authentically. You start performing. You start curating your personality to be likable, non-threatening, easy. You stop being real, because real might be too much. And in the process, you become less of yourself. You become a caricature of what you think she wants. And even if she did want you, she wouldn't be wanting the real you. She'd be wanting the performance. And that's not sustainable. That's exhausting. Reframe. Asterisk, asterisk, emotional investment is mutual or it's nothing. Asterisk, asterisk, you stop auditioning. You stop performing. You show up as yourself and you require the same in return. And if she can't meet you there, you don't shrink. You leave. Because a connection without depth is not a connection. It's a distraction. And you don't have time for distractions. Sixth behavior. Asterisk, asterisk. She talks about other guys. Asterisk, asterisk. She mentions other men. She tells you about dates. She asks your advice about someone she's interested in. And you play the friend role. You give advice, you listen, you support, and inside you're dying. Because you want to be the guy she's talking about, not the guy she's talking to. And she knows. She absolutely knows. But she keeps doing it because you've never set a boundary. You've never said, I'm not interested in being your emotional support while you explore other options. Why does she do this? Because you've allowed it. And because she's not thinking about your feelings. She's thinking about her needs. She needs validation. She needs attention. She needs someone to process with, and you've volunteered. You've made yourself available for everything except what you actually want, and she's happy to take what you're offering because it costs her nothing. Root cause. You think proximity equals opportunity. You think if you stay close, stay helpful, stay supportive, she'll eventually see you differently. But that's not how attraction works. Attraction is not a slow burn of friendship that turns romantic. Attraction is immediate, or it's not there. And if she's seeing you as the friend, the advisor, the emotional support, that's how she'll always see you. You're not building towards something. You're cementing a role. The cost. You become invisible as a romantic option. You're safe. You're comfortable. You're the guy she talks to about the guys she actually wants. And every conversation about them is a reminder that you're not in that category. And it destroys you, slowly, quietly, until you either explode in frustration or disappear in resentment. Reframe. Asterisk, asterisk. Your romantic interest is not a secret to be hidden. It's a boundary to be set. Asterisk, asterisk. You make your intentions clear early. And if she's not interested, you don't pivot to friendship, hoping she'll change her mind. You respectfully step back, because you're not here to be anyone's backup plan or emotional crutch. You're here to build something mutual, or nothing at all. Seventh behavior. Asterisk, asterisk. She doesn't introduce you to her world. Asterisk, asterisk. You don't meet her friends. You don't meet her family. You're not on her social media. You're kept separate, compartmentalized, and you tell yourself she's private. She's not big on introductions. She moves slow. But the truth is simpler. She's not proud of you. Or she doesn't see a future. Or you're temporary, and she knows it. When a woman is serious about you, she integrates you. She wants her people to know you. She wants to share her life. And when she doesn't, it's because you're not part of the plan. You're hidden because she's either embarrassed, uncertain, or keeping her options open. And none of those are places you should accept. You're not a secret. You're not a side plot. You're either central or you're nothing. And if she's treating you like a secret, she's telling you exactly where you stand. Root cause. You've accepted crumbs for so long that you don't even recognize what a full meal looks like. You think being hidden is normal. You think slow integration is respect. It's not. It's avoidance. And you've tolerated it because confronting it means confronting the possibility that she's not serious, and you'd rather live in hope than face that. The cost. You exist in the shadows of her life. You're never fully seen, never fully claimed, and that eats at your sense of worth, because on some level, you know that if you mattered, you wouldn't be hidden, and that knowing sits in your chest like a stone. Reframe. Asterisk. Asterisk integration is evidence. Everything else is excuses. Asterisk. Asterisk. You don't wait to be introduced. You observe whether it's happening naturally. And if months go by and you're still separate, you ask directly. And if the answer is vague or defensive, you walk, because you deserve to be with someone who's proud to have you, not someone who's strategically hiding you. Now let's talk about the man who doesn't deal with any of this. The man who doesn't wonder, who doesn't analyze, who doesn't chase. Let me paint the picture. He wakes up with purpose. He's got work that matters to him, goals he's actively building toward, routines that ground him. His life is full, not because he's trying to impress anyone, but because he's committed to becoming the version of himself he respects, and that commitment is visible. It's in the way he moves, the way he speaks, the way he doesn't need validation from anyone, because he's validated by his own standards. When he meets a woman, he's present. He's interested. But he's not desperate. He's not trying to convince her of anything. He shows up as himself, and he watches how she responds. If she's into it, great. If she's not, also great. Because his worth is not on trial. He doesn't initiate endlessly with someone who doesn't reciprocate, because he recognizes that energy is currency, and he doesn't spend it where it's not valued. If she goes cold, he doesn't chase. He observes, accepts, and redirects. No drama, no resentment, just clarity. He doesn't tolerate inconsistency, because his life is too dialed in to make space for chaos. He's not waiting by the phone. He's not refreshing messages. He's building. And if someone wants access to that, they have to show up consistently. He doesn't sacrifice without reciprocity, because he understands that mutual effort is the foundation of respect. He doesn't accept vague, because his time is too valuable to spend in someone's maybe pile. He requires depth, Because surface level anything bores him. He's done pretending, he's done performing, he's only interested in real. He doesn't play the friend role when he wants something else, because he's honest. He states his intentions early and clearly. And if she's not on the same page, he moves on without bitterness. And he doesn't accept being hidden, because he knows what he brings. He's not a secret, he's a prize. And if she doesn't see that, someone else will. This man is not perfect. He's not without flaws or insecurities. But he's done one thing most men haven't. He's decided that his self-respect is non-negotiable. And that decision changes everything. It changes how he moves, how he chooses, how he responds, and it makes him magnetic, not because he's trying to be, but because he's grounded. And groundedness in a world of chaos is rare, and rare is attractive. So here's what you do. You stop texting first for 1 week. You observe. If she reaches out, great. If she doesn't, you have your answer. And you accept it without bitterness. You stop tolerating inconsistency. The next time she comes back after going cold, you don't welcome her like nothing happened. You address it. Or you don't engage. You require reciprocity. You notice who adjusts for you and who doesn't. And you invest accordingly. You treat vague as no. You stop waiting in maybes. You move on definites, or you move on entirely. You require depth. You stop accepting shallow conversation. You ask real questions. You share real things, and if she doesn't match that, you stop trying. You set boundaries around emotional labor. If she's talking about other guys, you say clearly, I'm not the right person for that conversation. And you mean it. You require integration. If months pass and you're still separate from her world, you ask why. And if the answer doesn't sit right, you walk. And here's the most important one. You build your life. You stop waiting for someone to choose you, and you start choosing yourself. You invest in your goals, your health, your growth, your peace. You become so committed to your own development that whether she's interested or not becomes secondary, because your life is the primary thing, and anyone who wants to be part of it has to add to it, not distract from it. You are not the guy who waits. You're not the guy who chases. You're not the guy who accepts less because he's afraid of nothing. You're the guy who knows his value and requires the world to match it. You're the guy who walks away from anything that doesn't serve him, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. You're the guy who builds a life so solid that people either rise to meet you there or they don't get access. And that's not cold. That's clarity. The woman who's right for you won't make you wonder. She won't make you chase. She won't keep you in the maybe pile or at arm's length. She'll show up. She'll reciprocate. She'll be consistent. She'll invest. She'll integrate you. And it'll feel easy, not because there's no effort, but because the effort is mutual. And mutual effort doesn't feel like work. It feels like momentum. But you'll never meet her if you're stuck analyzing the one who's clearly not interested. You'll never build that if you're pouring everything into someone who's giving nothing back. So you let go. Not with anger, not with resentment, but with clarity. You thank her for showing you where she stands, and you redirect every ounce of that energy back into yourself. You are the answer. Not her. Not the next one. You. Your focus. Your discipline. Your standards. Your refusal to settle. Your commitment to building something real. That's the answer. And the moment you fully accept that, everything changes. The desperation disappears. The neediness evaporates. The confusion clears, because you're no longer looking for someone to complete you. You're looking for someone to join you, and joining is optional. Completing yourself is not. So if you need to hear this again tomorrow, next week, next month, because you will, because we all forget, hit that subscribe button, not for me, for you, because this is the work, this is the path, and you don't walk it alone, you walk it with people who are committed to the same thing, truth, growth, and refusing to accept anything less than what they deserve. That's who we are. That's what we do. And I'll see you in the next one.